What's going on, guys? For those of you that are new to the channel, my name is Ty, and today in this video, we're going to be talking about Mickey 17, the brand new Bong Joon-ho film starring Robert Pattinson, Mark Ruffalo, Toni Collette, and many, many more, including Steven Yeun as well. But listen, did this movie live up to the expectations that I had for it, or did it utterly disappoint me? That's what I want to get into in this video. But listen, I'm going to give my rating at the end of the video, but let me just give you my thoughts first. To give you some context, just sort of as backup, I was really excited for this movie about a year and a half ago or 2 years ago when it was actually announced. We got that one picture of Robert Pattinson like upside down, kind of like laying down on some type of like CAT scan looking machine, and that was like the only picture we had for a long time. And once we got the first trailer, honestly, I was kind of thrown off because it had this weird, goofy vibe. Robert Pattinson was doing this awkward voice, and I was down for some weird stuff, but it just didn't really seem like it was for me, even though I'm definitely a sci-fi person. But either way, went into this film with an open mind, and I said, you know what? Bong, blow me away. Robert Pattinson, blow me away. Because this cast is stacked, like I already mentioned. But what did I think about the film? I think that it's definitely good. I'm going to give you my rating at the end of the video, but I think it's definitely a good film that is flawed. In reality, I feel like there's only one major flaw that I could really think of. It's not like a bunch of little things, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Let me just start off with the positives here. Gotta talk about Robert Pattinson first of all, because he's playing Mickey 17 and Mickey 18. As you guys saw in the trailer, there's two of them. He's an unbelievable actor. I was blown away, and I think that his performance is so great. It's easily the best part of this movie. He is ridiculous on all levels. I was kind of doubting the whole voice thing, but once you kind of see where both of these characters go, because they are a little bit different, even though they are the same person, you start to kind of get a feel for what he's doing with each of them, and it's such a different performance. And I've got to say, Robert Pattinson's the type of actor where when I look at his career, I have no idea how I'd even describe like his acting style, because quite honestly, he is just such a chameleon. He's always doing something new. It's not like he's a character actor whatsoever. He's always doing a new voice, a new character, and the voice, like I already mentioned, was super emphasized in here, playing two different characters. One's a little bit more naive, one's a little bit meaner and more aggressive. He just does it masterfully. And speaking of the two Robert Pattinsons that we got in here, both the Mickeys, the visual effects in this movie are stellar. Whether it's like the little creatures that we're looking at, whether it's the two Robert Pattinsons right next to each other, everything looks awesome. And from there, everything looking great. The world building in this movie is amazing. I've got to say, this is a really cool sci-fi world that they built here, and I think that playing off of the genre, which in and of itself is a bit layered because it's like a sci-fi film that's also a comedy, but also has heavy political undertones. I think that it's just a very creative type of film, and I'm happy that Bong kind of, after winning Best Picture with Parasite, kind of just went for it here. It felt like he was really trying to just adapt this book and just build something awesome, build this really cool world that, again, I know it's adapted from a book, but still was just very different. It felt like it had this flair to it, and I really appreciated that. I think the other side characters like Mark Ruffalo and Toni Collette, I'm gonna get to them in a second probably, or at least just like, like I already mentioned, the whole political themes. But starting off with Mark Ruffalo here, it's very obvious that his performance is meant to be a parody of, I guess you could say, Donald Trump or Jeff Bezos, just sort of a mix of a politician and like a corporate CEO. We'll get to the themes in a second, but I think he plays this character pretty well. Sometimes I almost wish he just like committed to the bit a little bit more. It feels like he's going 75% of the way, and Robert Pattinson, because of how crazy and wacky he's acting, is going 110%. So I just feel like he's a step behind. Toni Collette, kind of like his right-hand woman, his like wife, also kind of just playing like this ironic, satirical figure, politician, powerful woman, whatever you want to say. I think it's great, and it kind of sells the idea of this movie. And when it comes to the themes of this film, I like the idea that it's sort of going over the fact that corporations just want to use you until you die. They want to suck the life out of you. They just want to benefit from you, and they couldn't care less about you. When I look at Mickey's character, he's very naive. He's meant to just sort of be this go-with-the-flow person, and this corporation is willing to kill him over and over and over again just for their own benefit. And I feel like that says a lot about things like today. In a way, it's almost alluding to something like Amazon, or again, in a political sense, just like the United States or capitalism as a whole. I just think that they did a really good job of displaying that. And again, playing back to Mark Ruffalo's character, sort of playing that Bezos role, you could say, of just working people to death, always putting on this persona and acting like he's helping people, but in reality, he's not. And again, I don't know if he fully commits to it, but he does have some hilarious moments, and I think that he does a pretty solid job, don't get me wrong, at playing that, ironic politician that again, doesn't actually care about anybody. He only cares about himself. There are some really hilarious scenes in this movie. I'm talking about some bits that'll probably be some of the funniest of the entire year, and then just going over more like the story as a whole. I think it's relatively straightforward for the most part. The world building's a bit complex, but things, once they get going, they really get going, and I think that I was very entertained throughout the entire film. I do want to talk about, though, my one major issue with this movie. This movie clocks in at 2 hours and 17 minutes, super solid movie runtime, a little bit on the longer side. It's not really a long movie, but I'm just saying it's not like an hour and 40 minutes or even 2 hours. 2 hours and change for sure. I feel like this movie feels like it's 3 hours long. I think that you could easily cut a half hour off of this movie, maybe 25 minutes, because it kind of panders, and this is the problem. It's not like it really panders in one area. I feel like the entire film, the pacing of the entire movie is kind of awkward to where there's certain scenes in the middle where I'm like, I forgot there's even a plot going on. Wait, actually, what even is the plot anymore? Because we're kind of just going on side quests, just kind of doing random things, because now there's 2 Robert Pattinsons, and they're just kind of talking, and it's not even like there's really any character development going on. It's kind of just like these little side quests happening. There isn't really any thematic elements to them. It's kind of just random things happening. I'm kind of like, okay, could we get things rolling a little bit? And especially the third act, it's a perfectly good third act. I enjoyed it, but I felt like it was so dragged out. It's a really long third act to where, and I wasn't trying to rush towards the end, I didn't like want it to be over, but also I was kind of just like, when are we wrapping this thing up? I feel like we're kind of going and going and going. And then tying that back to like Mark Ruffalo's character, right? How he was so funny, right? We're getting little teases of him. We're getting, some short scenes with him. Towards the end, he's in it so much that it kind of feels like they're just beating you over the head with the themes a little bit, and it starts to get a little bit too on the nose. And it's not necessarily because of what they're doing or the execution. It's more just because these scenes are too long. Again, this movie's 2 hours and 17 minutes. I think that if you just chopped it down just to like 2 hours flat, maybe even you just cut like 12 minutes off of this movie, make it a solid 205, I think that's perfect. But I'm telling you, those 12 minutes kind of make or break the movie for me when it comes to being good versus being really great. You'll notice it, I'm pretty sure. If you watch the film, you'll probably understand what I'm saying. But this is the thing. Again, like I already mentioned, this movie has a lot of really creative elements. Loved the world, loved the characters, the love interest in here is pretty interesting, the relationship that's going on. But again, I just feel like my major complaint kind of just seeps into every single aspect within this entire film, because even by the end, I was kind of over the whole like Mickey shtick of him just being naive and silly, and then the other Mickey being more aggressive. I was kind of just ready to pack things up, and I understand, maybe that's what they were going for, but still, just wasn't really for me. I feel like, we needed to speed things up here just a little bit when it came to the pacing. Also, you've got Steven Yeun in here as like a little side character, or kind of like a jokey character. I like Mickey's backstory and how he's directly tied to it. Leaves for a lot of hilarious gags and also some emotional moments, I would say. From there, this movie's rated R. I think that I understand why it's rated R, but I feel like they could have pushed it a bit more. I feel like they don't even use the F word until like halfway through the movie. Then they're just spamming it basically for the most part. I don't really know why that's the case. Maybe there's some thematic reason why they do that. And even from there, like the kills that Mickey goes through, not super bloody or gory, and it's almost like they feel very PG-13, which is okay. The focus doesn't need to make this, like a Saw movie. I'm just saying, does feel a bit tame at times. It's just another small complaint, small nitpick. This is definitely an enjoyable movie. I really like the way that the political elements are kind of tied into here. I like Mickey and Robert Pattinson's amazing performance in here. I definitely want to rewatch this movie, I gotta say. Probably missed a lot of things on the first time around. The story as a whole, very entertaining, some cute little animals, and definitely, again, like I said, a lot of themes that tie directly to our world today. Your typical, climate change type of stuff, your typical political type of stuff, your typical, class type of stuff, how the upper class is basically ruling the lower class. I think it's great. I think it's hilarious. Good time at the movies. I think it's definitely a win. But if I had to settle with a score for Mickey 17 at this moment in time, I think that I'm going to stick with a 3.5 out of 5. I think that it's a super solid film. It's a good movie for sure. Just drags a little bit, but besides that, the substance in there is really good. It's entertaining throughout, and there's some hilarious gags. There's just some really creative moments, and I think that overall, you're going to have a good time if you go check this out. And I think it's worth seeing in the theaters, because a lot of people in the theaters were dying laughing at some of the jokes in here and stuff. It's worth seeing with a crowd. But guys, that's going to just about do it for this video and this review. If you guys have seen Mickey 17, let me know down in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.